Hey everybody, Robot here from Vespa Motorsport and ScooterWest.com. So you have a vintage Vespa. What's the best thing to do to it? Leave it stock, in my opinion. But the second best thing you can do to your vintage Vespa is replace those all original rock hard grips that come on pretty much any vintage Vespa. And we got you covered. From Vans ODI, there's nice soft rubber grips in the same pattern as the classic Vans shoes. Nice and soft, super simple to install, and specifically engineered for the vintage Vespas with the 22 millimeter handles on them. All the other Vans grips we have are for the modern Vespas that have a throttle tube that's a little bit larger. These are a little skinnier for the vintage Vespas. We have them on the Scooter West web store, 141923-Vans, and you can pick the color you want, whether it's brown, gray, or the classic black. Here I have Travis's 1975 Vespa Rally 200, and he's tired of these original Piaggio grips that are pretty much like a rock, and they dig into your hands. Not the most comfortable grip. You want to upgrade to the classic black Vans grips. So let me show you how it's done. Pretty simple job. So pretty much three things are needed. You need a knife to cut the old grips off. Sometimes it's possible to use your compressed air to blow the old grip off, but I'll tell you, these things are like rocks, probably not likely to blow them off. If they've been on the scooter for about 60 years, you can count on getting a grinder to probably grind them off, because the rubber is probably turned into a hard plastic. But I think the knife's gonna do the trick on these 70s grips. And it's pretty much the same steps to install any type of grip on pretty much any motorcycle or scooter. You want to have grip glue handy. That happens to work the best. We have single-use packs on our web store, and I think it's just part numbers grip glue, a little smaller than this. In a pinch, you can use other products to mount the grips, such as hairspray. You can find videos all over the web on different products. You don't want to use something as crazy as like a whole tube of super glue. Some things will just glue the rubber a little bit too much to the metal. And when it comes time to change it, you're going to be really struggling. The grip glue holds really tight. It's real rubbery. It acts as a lubricant when you're installing the grip, but once it dries up, it kind of holds the grip in place, so it works pretty good. And let's get right to it. Start with your knife, preferably a nice sharp knife. Maybe you're better off with like a razor blade, disposable razor blade. And hasta la vista, 1970s grips. You served us well. And now you're to the point where you're wrecking people's hands. Well, they've always been pretty hard. Let's see how this goes. Whew, that is pretty tight. And I'm doing the perfect thing. I'm actually dragging the knife towards myself, which is always the perfect way to use a fine knife like this. And now they got like a nice little groove, make a couple scores. There you go. I think it made it all the way through. So at that point, you can peel it back. Ooh, that is clean under there. That's the original paint. So now the old grip's off there. That can just go right in the trash back there. Well, I actually made it into trash. And pretty much do the same on the throttle side. One little tip on the throttle side on pretty much any vintage Vespa, it's rather fragile. You don't want to use like a hammer to hammer the grip on. Ideally, you want the grip just to slide on with just a little bit of force, because if you hit this with a hammer, you're going to damage this little flange that's made out of metal on the throttle tube. Shift tube's pretty rugged, in my opinion. Kind of going to casting up against the casting, so it kind of holds up a little bit better. All right, so you got your new grips right here. Go ahead and open them up. One thing they do tell you, it's probably made in the United States of America. Made up in Orange County, just above San Diego. So the grips, you can see they're perfectly sized to the tube. And you can kind of push them on. They're right to the right length and everything. One thing, these came off really clean. They left very little residue on there. You could take brake spray cleaner, and usually that's enough to break up the adhesive. Alternatively, you could just take sandpaper if they really have some gooey stuff on there. And the nice thing about the brake spray cleaner is it kind of preps the surface for the new adhesive. So on the end of the grip, they do say Vans and Colt. You could, typically I like to orient them in the stationary position so they're both the same. I'm gonna have Vans face up. So take your grip glue. If you're using the single-use pack, don't be afraid to use up about half the tube. You know, you could be pretty liberal on it. And typically I just like to put like a ring of it all inside the tube. You can kind of see this stuff that kind of looks like pig snot, as I like to call it. Something like that. And you could do a little bit on here too. Don't want to get too crazy on the tube because whatever's on the tube tends to get pushed into the shifter or the throttle mechanism. And you pretty much just start pushing the grip. These things are sized for the vintage Vespas. A lot of times you could just push it almost all the way. Just have your compressed air. If there's a little bit left where you can't do it, you could inflate it underneath, just like a balloon. You kind of inflate it. And if there's any residue, you can wipe it off with your fingers, or better yet, use like a disposable paper towel there. And that's pretty much it. Let it set up. And we'll do the same for the throttle side. It's a little harder on the throttle side because there's a little bit of a step right there. So we'll do the same with the right grip. And typically with the throttle side, if it's on a modern Vespa, I don't even glue it because they're going on a nylon tube. The vintage ones, it's pretty much the same size. And you could put a real small amount. You definitely don't want to have glue going into the throttle mechanism. Get the Vans kind of facing. Let's see if we can do this in one shot. Oh yeah, there we go. Look at that. And just a little bit oozing. I didn't need compressed air. And ideally, you want to let the grip glue set up for like 6 to 8 hours. Just to fully cure. Because sometimes if you twist, you'll end up with a twisted grip on there. If you let the adhesive set up, then it's not likely to twist. If you go out riding, there's a possibility you get the grip all twisted up. Especially with a softer grip, like these Vans grips. It's a lot more comfortable on the hands. They got a little bit more give to them. Obviously, I hope you're wearing gloves when you're riding anything with two wheels. But let them set up and they'll work fine. And you could, if you have a little bit too much adhesive, even when the adhesive's wet, you could use a little bit of that brake parts cleaner. And just, it's not gonna really affect the paint, but you can get it out of the groove. The idea is you don't want any of the grip glue in the mechanism. That pretty much goes with, you know, installing grips on anything here. So there you have it. New set of grips, kind of upgrade the look. Kind of a classic throwback with the Vans tread pattern on there. Made in USA, and you get choices of 3 different colors for the vintage Vespas. All right, thanks for watching. The Robot here from Vespa Motorsport. I'll see you on the next one. If you're ever in Maine, I guess it's a pretty cool restaurant with a Vespa, and the owner is a customer of ours. Maybe someday I'll make it to Maine. See you next time.